Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Right?
No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
And the millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby,
Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Justin Fox, Paul Ricks. Paul, thank you very much for joining me on the show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I'm going to do a very quick intro because you are the founder of Zeneris. You've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. And I think it's interesting you put a Canadian who loves hockey and baseball. So I think we all do. Being a sort of kid of the 70s, I grew up basically, I was born the year after the Jays got here, 78. So huge Jays fan. I wouldn't say I'm much of a Leafs fan, but definitely a hockey fan. But grew up playing hockey as well. And then the Raptors. I'm also a Raptors fan as well, although we'll see what happens with them going forward, right? It was fun for the past 10 years, but it's been kind of disappointing the past year. So anyways, welcome to the show. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? What, like, Canadian, before we get into the entrepreneur side, tell us what it's been like, growing up as a Canadian, and then kind of what got you into, Zeneris and kind of what is it that got you there? I guess let's go back, do a way back.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Way back, I grew up in small town, Hall Landing, Sharon area. There was about 2,000 people at the time. And, just kind of playing pond hockey, with your friends or spending the summers going to play baseball. And they always said, going to play 500 up, right? Hey, you can go and play with your friends, but you got to take your little brother, it was same kind of thing.
We used to call it Burby too, 500 up, same idea, right? With the box on the wall.
Yeah,
or we playing 500 catch in the field.
And everybody moves up. You're playing hockey. Everyone throws their sticks in and tries
throw them on other sides, right? Exactly. Yeah.
So typical Canadian that way. You had, you're skating, you're playing hockey, you're out there till your hands are too cold, and probably should have came in a half hour ago, and mother's running them out of cold water. So I don't know if everybody had the same experience, but that was me. Loved it, loved playing, and couldn't get enough of it. So
where did you say, Sharon? Whereabouts is
Sharon? Hull Landing, just Hull Landing.
Okay,
between the Hull and Marsh,
just north of GTA there, right? Or
you got it. Sharon's very close.
Okay. Kind of like is it Georgetown? No. I think what are the West Gwillimbury, Bradford.
East
Bradford.
West
Gwillimbury, all of those.
I grew up in East Gwillimbury, so I was there. Actually opened my first business in Bradford.
Okay.
It was a video arcade business called Dynamite Vids, and the eye was a stick of dynamite. So I mean, I was like, I don't know, 18 years old. And
when was that? When would that happen?
I was born in 72, so I'm going to be 40 and 49 now. So you're going back a ways. So probably 32 years ago.
Very similar in age, like I said. So we're both born sort of 70s, about 6 years apart there. Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. So I opened that up and I learned a little thing, called market research, because everybody was going home and trading Sega Genesis and Nintendos. And I was just getting into, kind of going to have a, Mortal Kombat and NBA Jam and all these kind of videos. So, it was my first foray into business. And I learned that, maybe you got to do a little market research about where things are going. You want to get in the tail end of a.
Oh, did I lose you? Paul?
Yeah, you froze.
I froze. You froze. Yeah, you kind of froze there as well.
Okay.
So I caught it. You were at the tail end of a sort of. It was I guess it was the advent of Nintendo, Sega, and now you're kind of jumping in there, right? So it's Yeah.
So that's what I did, and then I headed off to New York City. I wanted to kind of learn to do business. Lived in New Jersey, just worked in Hoboken. Got into an unconventional business there with someone. Because being a Canadian and growing up in Canada, you can imagine going to New York City from a town of 2,000. But I always had that dream that I was gonna work for myself and be a big shot, and had no idea how, but just knew that I was willing to take a chance. Probably more chances than I should have, but they say if you don't take a chance, you don't got a chance, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I headed off there and kind of told my dad that, I didn't want to live this way. I'm going to show him how I'm going to, this is how the world's going to work. And much like a lot of teenagers in early 20s, right? So that's what I did. And I ended up in New York area for about 5 years. And got into voice over IP with a company. My company there was called Chat a Lot Limited. So the acronym is CALL. You're always trying to look for a hook, right?
Yeah.
Chat a Lot Limit LLC. So we did voice over IP, expanded that into around Madison, Wisconsin, Peoria, Illinois, all that area, Global Crossings, Ameritech, all those companies were big then. And again, I'm dating myself, but you remember there was QoS and voice over IP didn't really work, right?
Right.
So you're coming in on the IVRs and we were supporting these systems where now people were talking, they thought it was voice packets, but it was actually data packets disguised with voice inside. So we partnered with Lucent Technologies, if you remember them.
Okay, yeah.
Got into that business and it went pretty well, but the technology wasn't really there, right? And when people were talking on the phone, it was like ship to shore radio. It was like that Justin over.
Yeah.
So everyone was like, I'm going to have a landline and all that. So it did, it was a little bit ahead of the time. We knew it was going there because you could pay pennies and charge dollars for using this system. So did that, got out of that business and then, hung around a little while around the New York, New Jersey area. And I realized that, I was Canadian. I wanted to come home to Canada, frankly, and I wanted to start a family and just get back to my roots. And once you go through that, they always say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. So I came back and everyone was like, Paul, why are you such a jerk? What's your problem? And I was like, oh yeah, sorry, I'm back in Canada. I got to.
Everyone's a little bit. Is it a different pace of life kind of thing, or
yeah, the way they do business. The way they do business is different.
Right.
Okay, in New York, New Jersey, they're just like punch you in the gut. Are we doing business? Are we just playing here? What's the deal? And I'm like, you haven't even sat down. So when I took that after transforming, I learned to do business in New York, New Jersey. I brought that back to Toronto, and everyone was like, "Hey, man, what happened to you? You're a little bit aggressive." And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's right. So I really think of being an entrepreneur as being a Canadian and a North American. I have great friends in America. I do tons of business there in New York and New Jersey area as we speak with Zenaris. Had a couple business along the way. Rockwire was a business that we did a lot of migrations to a lot of the data centers. Blue Data Systems was another one. I didn't get much too into LinkedIn. I always say to people, I'm really not interested in being well known. I'm interested in people with concepts and ideas, being around like-minded people that spend, 10% of their time on the problem and 90% of their time on the solution.
Right.
Those are my kind of people. Okay, we identified there's a problem. That's great.
Let's try to figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of gravitate to those types of people. I always think of Bill Gates had a great line that said, somebody interviewed him one time and they said, look, if we took all the money and we gave all the money away from the 1% or the 5% or whatever the case may be, and we spread it to everyone, he said, it wouldn't work in 5 years. All the money would be back.
It all have it back again. Yeah.
And they're like, well, how can you say that? And he says, why? Because I would say, hey guys, to my friends, I would say, hey guys, gather around. I have an idea. You know what I mean? And that's all. That's how it starts.
It's those types of people that they would just gravitate right back to trying to figure out how to get it back, right? And once you've got it once, you can kind of figure it out over and over again, right?
It's the way of thinking. I remember I was sitting with the guy who's head of a large company, a spinoff of Nokia, and he said to me, I said to him, how do you make 100 decisions in a day? Like, you're running this huge company. Nokia was really big, with the phones that lit up. Remember the light?
Yeah.
And I was like,
they were one of the original flip phones, like right before the Razor, right? Yeah.
You got it. So I was like, well, how do you do that? And I remember sitting to have lunch, and I was privileged just to have lunch. It was only maybe 25 at the time. And he just kind of saw something, and he's like, look, I'm gonna be straight up with you. He's got 2 secretaries and it was really hard to get. And he said, I just like to see people, and hopefully you'll help other people and other entrepreneurs. But he says, here's your problem, Paul. You're spending all your time working at a level that fills a chair of someone who makes X amount of thousands, very low level chair. You're making decisions at that level. When I think about it, someone came to me today, for example, and said, hey, we're opening offices in this region of, Europe or wherever. They asked me, what do you want them to look like? And I made a decision to say, I want them to be earth tones. Now I could pay someone else to say which yellows and which green and Bermuda green and pine needle green. You know what I mean?
More like high level thinking, right? Not so it's not the
Yeah.
minutia, right? The
You got to be a
details specifically.
conceptual level,
Right.
right? He didn't say yellow, green, but he just said earth tones next. And he just made a decision that did 100 buildings that they were open. You know what I mean? So I really always found in life that sticks with you, right? All these things. And you think about hockey and you think about sports. I was big on sports. I think team sports is a huge advantage to people because, you know, you never give up. You're in it together. People have that when you're running a business, you're in it together, right? So after Rockwire and Blue Data started Zenaris about 6.5, 7 years ago, and really it was all about, you know, I've never been a super tech guy, right? I'm all about sales and business and ideas.
Right.
And I went to people that I know in the industry and I said, where do you think this is going? We had moved people to the cloud and they said, you know what? They're going to start to have to use, because everyone's going to be in the cloud. You can only have so many people to do manual tasks. You're going to have to use automation. They're going to have to start use development and code in the whole world's an app. And I remember sitting with the CIO and I was like, he's like, well, what do you mean everything's an app? And I was like, dude, talk to your phone. You know who responds? Siri. It's an app. Everything is an app. I don't care if you do your online banking, if you book your hotel, if you're catching a flight, you probably start your car, find your car, whatever, right? So if I could get help make those applications run that all these businesses are going to need to manage their business, like this app we're using, you know, Zoom or whatever the case, a finance app, QuickBooks, whatever, then you know
Backers.
yeah, I could.
Also, shameless plug. Backers. There's an app. Yeah.
Exactly.
Finance app. But yeah. So okay. Let's. I have two questions because I want to go two directions. One is right at the very beginning of your story. 18. You know what made you want to get into business? Like, what was that desire? Like, can you go back to that 18-year-old Paul and like sort of explain what, like, because I mean, most 18-year-olds, even back then, I think now every 18-year-old wants to be an entrepreneur, but you know, we're talking 20, 30 years ago, that wasn't really the thing. What sort of drove you to be that 18-year-old entrepreneur to start your own arcade, essentially?
Yeah. Well, you know, for me, I started to read. I wasn't a good study in school, to be honest. I couldn't concentrate. I was 14, 15, 16, 17, and I couldn't concentrate because the things that I was being told to read in school, I didn't like. I didn't have an interest in, you know, biology or chemistry or whatever, but I had a great interest in business and people. So I always had a people interest. So I read books on, you know, everyone probably read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. I was listening to Tony Robbins. I started to get into I wanted to know what all these, Lee Iacocca, you know, how he started the Mustang and Ford, then he went to Chrysler, started the minivan. You know, I read about Jimmy Hoffa. I just gravitated towards all these people. So then I realized, well, why can't I be one of those people? You know, I started to challenge myself. Well, I'm no different. I mean, when I realized as I read all these books about people, and it might seem strange to your viewers, but I mean, that's how I really gravitated. I said, well, wait a minute. All these people were just ordinary guys and gals who just decided to take a chance and go for it. And they didn't let the naysayers and the people who said, I can't give you a nickel for everyone who told me it's a dumb idea. Oh, he starts Zenaris. That's a dumb name. And, you know, you cross $10 million in sales and they start to think, well, maybe it wasn't so dumb. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know, but if you listen to them, you will never get out of the gates. You'll never do anything. So I actually found that if everyone was going this way, I probably want to go that way. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, again, my timing in the arcade wasn't good, but it really came down to people. And I've always been about the people in my business right now. I have some partners in the business, obviously, and they've been great and all that. But the business at Zenaris is all about the people. So we don't resell hardware, software licensing. We don't get into, you know, which is the best tool for the job. That's all we care about. We don't care what tool it is, whether it costs more or whatever. So we want a customer to have a great experience. And we use people. We invest in people. 90% of every dollar spent at Zenaris is on hiring and supporting great, talented people. So that connection is back to when I was 18. And I learned that right there and then when I was reading books at 17, turned 18. Okay, if I'm going to be one of those people, I got to start this journey. And then I started to look at, you know, what I thought could work. And I'm growing up Mahal Landing. I was looking at Bradford, the area was growing. So that's how I got into the arcade again was, you know, I started to get my licks because obviously, you know, it didn't work out. But
well, you learn. My kids actually, I forget where, might even be on TV right now, this commercial. It's like, you don't have to be amazing to start, but you have to start to be amazing, right? So it's like, sort of, you said like and I think the same comment too that you just said, why can't I? Like, if they can do it, why can't I, right? They're no different than me, right? They're just regular people that kind of went and took that risk, right? Took that chance. And like you said, sometimes people fail, and a lot of times your first, second, third, fourth 10th business fails, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you just got to keep on persevering, right? I mean, I've struggled through some tough times as well. But so that's awesome. That's kind of pure advice to anyone starting out today, right? It's enjoy the journey. It's going to be a long road, but you got to keep sticking to it, right? But let me ask you about Zeneris, because I was on your website earlier and I kind of was going through it. So you talk a little bit about the technology. What is it that Zeneris says? Sort of looking at digital transformation, cloud, migration, infrastructure. You talked about the automation. Like, what's the underlying kind of vision, I guess, or mission kind of Zeneris? Like, what is it that you're like, if you could sort of, I mean, I'm assuming you have that sort of the one liner or the one sentence, like, what is it that you guys are able to do and what kind of niche do you guys kind of fit into? And then I'd love to sort of talk a little bit about how you go about it, but just kind of get an understanding of what Zeneris is.
Yeah, I think the simple line is you're going to scale with automation and technology rather than with people. So we've all, hiring 80 people somewhere in the world or 100 people, throwing more people at the process is never going to make it quicker. You're going to have human error and a lot of different issues. If you can take advantage of technology that was ripe for the picking, to be able to use software because everything's an app and you can automate tasks that, frankly, if you come in and you're paying someone a 6-figure salary and you say, hey, Joe, tomorrow you're going to be on patching and maintenance. They probably don't show up to work. It's not very interesting, but you could get like machine learning and you can get automation, use scripts to do those tasks. So what I thought was, look, and Rockwire and Blue Data, we move people to the cloud. And I said to myself, okay, I've got all these cloud people, one smarter than the next in the, in the business. Right. How do I get to stick around? Because moving people to the cloud, you make some great amount of money, you help them on the journey, digital transformation, but then you're done. Now they're there and they're trying to figure it out on their own. So I said, I don't want to make 50,000 once. I want to make 5,000 a month for the rest of your life. Everything as a service. So I started to think to myself, I said, listen, my wife, you ask her how much the car, she has no idea. It's $320 a month. How much is LA Fitness? I don't know, $35 a month. Everything is on the drip. Okay. She has no clue what you're paying, and I love her, but I realized that everyone's consuming. And even when you she's going to look at a car and she's like, I don't know if I can afford $340 a month. I could do $320. The car salesperson was like they're trying to fit all your monthly bills. And I thought, wow, the cloud is everyone is paying on the drip. Everyone is paying a monthly service. So how do I take a services industry that is typically one and done? We do a project, we give you a fixed price or time and material, and we're done. We've laid the carpet, we've got you to wherever you need to go. Now, I want to stick around and say, let me help you now that you're in the cloud, for example, in this new great place. Let me help you take advantage of a lot of the automation and tools and servers. And you might have 100 servers, Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, but I've got 100 customers with 100 servers, so I can just throw yours into the mix. I'm already patching all the other ones using automation, so it's cheaper for me by my economy of scale to do it for you than for you to even do it yourself. And frankly, you have limited amount of resources. Again, using technology to scale instead of people. Put your people to more high-valued tasks. So the whole concept of the business was, if you can imagine, I went from moving people to the cloud with Rockwire and Blue Data Systems to saying, okay, a lot of people are mainly in the cloud. All applications that come out now are cloud-based. I don't remember the last time. Remember, we used to have to go to Staples or wherever, and we'd buy a box that had Microsoft Excel. We'd get a product key, but you know what I mean? Inside the box would be empty, right? It'd be just like a key. Well, we all know we download an app now from the app, so that part is gone. So I said, okay, well, I'm not going to make any money. Eventually, everyone's going to kind of be in the cloud. Everyone's going to get rid of that, having that. So now, how do I have them have a great experience? Sometimes in the cloud, it's not about what you use in the cloud that you pay for, but it's about what you forget to turn off in the cloud and what you're paying for.
I just had a meeting with a company yesterday and I was like, wow, we need to have a discussion about what just happened over the past 10 months because we were not aware of what was happening. But anyways, that's
your cloud bill. Yeah.
It wasn't so much the cloud, it was more like services that we thought were off that were continuing the drip. But anyways.
You got it.
It's sort of
that's what we do. We go in, we do not. So we're really all about, and that's why I got into it. I'm really all about, okay, now I need some stickiness. And I wanted the same dovetailing to, how my wife, using an example, how she pays for everything on the monthly. I wanted to get a monthly drip that was small enough that the customer said, well, there's a lot of value there. Maybe for $5,000 a month. If you put a $50,000 bill under them, they're like, no way. But for $5,000 a month, they're thinking $60,000 a year. That's not a lot. And we're going to give them support. I just wanted to get 100 customers at $5,000 a month. And, they're next thing you know, you have a business, right?
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you, where do you see the future of kind of automation? You talked about AI, ML, machine learning. A lot of people kind of conflate or confuse the two. There's a lot of gray area between them, but what, where do you see that going in the next, say, 1, 3, 5, even into like 10 years from now? What do you see?
Sure.
Like, what's the nearest, like, what are, you don't have to give us all your secret behind closed doors, secrets, but what,
Sure.
like, where do you guys see maybe, let's say 5 years from now, where do you see, business or automation and all of that?
Yeah, well, I think to your point about distinguishing between machine learning and AI, machine learning is teaching a machine, in our mind, a computer, if you will, teaching it to do, I want you to do these tasks on this day at this time of the month because this is what needs to happen. It's a patch. So the machine learns, I need to do this. This is how I do it. This is, software is if, and, when, then, right? So if I see this, then I do that. So you teach the machine and the machine's learned it, hence machine learning. Artificial intelligence says the machine starts to guess.
Right.
Hey, you haven't done your patching. Do you need it? Because the last 12 months, I noticed that you did it and the average time was an hour and the average day you did it was the 14th of the month. So it's actually trying to guess. It's artificial intelligence. So it's trying to guess, hey, what are you doing? Are you missing it? So for me, I think currently today, everything is ML, machine learned, and you have taught machines to take away all those mundane tasks. And we get it on our phone, that little red dot. Hey, you need a software update. They've already taught the iPhone or Samsung or whoever you're with, you need this update at this OS, and we push it out to everyone and we get a notification and we do it. So we've taught it, we get it. I think what's going to happen is they're going to get smart enough to start to say, and this is where in business, we're going to start to guess to say, hey, to our customers, we noticed this trend. Analytics, you hear data analytics, all that data is good.
Right.
We're crunching the numbers. These data scientists, so I would say to my kid, you just be a data scientist, because if you have the data, you have the gold, right? That's to me the gold. So if I start to say, hey, Justin, he goes to the, works out regularly this time of the day, he goes to the gym, he goes to the hockey rink. So they're gathering that information, and artificial intelligence, where the future is to start to feed suggestions back to you. You probably already get it in your Google. You go to Google and all these trending things that they've already targeted you with. That is 100%, I think, now and the future for the next 5 years. And they're going to continue to hone in. And it's going to be kind of scary to blur the lines between when my phone knows more about what I want to do.
Right. Than what you actually are saying.
And I didn't teach it that, right? I didn't tell it, I want you to send me an update and push a notification. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I think businesses also are going to go. And that's pretty interesting. And I don't pretend to know anything about it other than the conceptual level. And so but I can see the value in that.
It'll be scary to not know your own patterns, but the machine knows your own patterns. Like, wait, am I that predictable that you could, so it's funny. Like, one of the things we're building is, we call it a prognosticator. So it's an AI kind of ML type mix hybrid with several algorithms and whatnot, where we can actually take all the data from an issuer when they come in to raise capital on the platform, take all the data, and then we can predict how likely they are to succeed in raising capital and prescribe kind of what they need to do to increase those chances. So
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So we're building the front end of that. Now, the thing, like you just said, is the data. So you need like the data sets, right? So we now have to start pushing, tens of thousands of people through the funnel, right? To sort of get the data, and then you can start to really make it meaningful, because one person is only, the data is only as good as the data set, right? Having thousands of points and thousands of things. Okay, so you have a team of, you said obviously you're in LA, you travel in LA. Where were the New York,
LA, Muskoka, Tremblant. Yeah, that's where I personally
That's where you. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, not where your offices are. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, I just
Okay.
Well, we have an office we're headquartered in Toronto in the
Right.
Markham area,
Okay.
kind of by Buttonville Airport in behind there.
Okay. Yeah.
Around IBM and Oracle, all
Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of extra there.
Esna Park or whatever.
Yeah, right around the corner there by
Yeah.
off of Woodbine between 16th and 7th. So
Okay.
we can get off the 407, 404, all that kind of good stuff. So
Yeah,
we're
cool.
there. We also keep satellite offices in like Oakville and across North America. We do a lot of stuff in the US, but we're really North American based. We don't venture too far out of there. Major cities, Chicago's, New York's, LA's, and all that
Cool.
kind of Austin, Texas, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Cool. So let's shift gears a little bit. Sports.
Yeah.
You said sports fan, obviously grew up playing. You talked about, on the ice, on the pond,
Yeah.
little Burby, little 500 in the field. Are you a hockey fan?
Yeah, I'm a hockey fan. Yeah. Yeah. Big
Like
time.
Leaf fan?
I'm a Leaf fan. Yeah.
I'm gonna throw this. I don't usually go. What are your thoughts on the 3-on-3 overtime?
You know what? I like it. I think it's exciting. I like having the let's clutch and grab. It's more skill.
Yeah.
And it creates a little more room and people get more creative. And I think that was always something. And listen, I'm talking about me playing hockey, but I was always forward and tried to score goals, but I hated the clutch and grab and I remember Mario Lemieux, I'm dating myself, but I remember that whole time. And I remember the Devils with Brodeur and he was great, but it was like, if you got a goal, you're probably going to win.
1-0. Yeah.
Neutral zone trap.
Yeah.
So I love 3-on-3 for that reason. I like the space and I like the creativity and it's a lot more fun to watch. I think personally.
Yeah, no, that's sort of why I started Backers, and I come up with the idea to start a 3-on-3 pro hockey league.
I saw that.
The 3HL, yeah. So I thought, being a hockey fan, I'd ask you what your thoughts are. So yeah, we're looking to get that back in this fall. So we've been on a bit of a hiatus for the past couple of years, but hopefully get it back up and running. Looking, we're speaking with Sportsnet and a couple other entities, sponsors and broadcasting and whatnot to get it up and running. So hopefully stay tuned for that. But so where can they find you, Paul? You said not so much on LinkedIn. Are you on TikTok? I'm gonna say, yeah, you probably got a TikTok account.
No, I don't. I gotta be honest, I'm not big on the social media side. I'm on LinkedIn. Obviously it's Daenerys.com, we're there. But and then I've done some more podcasts recently, and so you can find me online. The 10-Minute Entrepreneur, the co-founder of Facebook, Michael Cox. He co-founded with Mark Zuckerberg, obviously, and I did one with Sean Kasternick and them recently down in Virginia and Carolina. So I'm going to start to appear a little more. You see my LinkedIn. I only put 5 years, as part of a lot of a journey before that. But I found that as a Canadian entrepreneur in the American side, it was good to kind of move quietly and get what you need to done. And I think as Canadians, we're a little more humble, and I love my American friends. They're a little more out there, and that's great. Right. But I found my personality was more, I want to go in, I want to do a great job. I'm happy to get the check. People get paid and go up to Muskoka and, walk into town. Nobody knows who you are.
Right.
So that's just the mentality. So as far as finding me, I try
to find you.
Yeah, exactly. Find me on LinkedIn, and like I said, I'm starting to do a little more out there. So that's why I wanted to come on. I saw your stuff about the 3-on-3 NHL. I think we're doing, Justin. I think there's any way I can help. Right? I would definitely. I got 16,000 people on my LinkedIn, and
awesome. We're trying to build an advisory board, so I'd love to. Yeah, if you're interested, let's continue the conversation offline here for sure. That'd be awesome. Cool. Well, Paul, I really appreciate you joining me. Thank you very much for taking sort of some time here. I usually end with one sort of question. We kind of answered it probably a million different ways, but if there was one word, kind of one piece of advice or word that you would give to maybe a younger Paul or somebody else coming up, what would that one word be?
I think it's never quit. I know I'm stealing 2 words, but never quit, man.
Never.
It. Never ever quit. I don't care what you're doing. Be smart enough to know when to stop, but never quit. Change direction, but never stop going forward. That's it.
Exactly. I was talking with someone about the words persistence versus perseverance. And so I think it's kind of what you just said. Persistence is continuing in one straight line, but perseverance is knowing that you keep going, but you can kind of veer in different directions, right? Yes. So it's sort of like you said, never give up, never quit, but know when to kind of stop one thing and kind of go a different direction, right? To change.
Agreed, 100%.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Paul, I really appreciate you joining me. Stay safe. Hopefully you have a good summer up there in the Muskokas. You're in Aurora right now?
Aurora right now, yeah.
But well, I'm sure you get up there a lot. Enjoy the rest of the summer. We'll talk offline. Everyone else, Justin Fox, Paul Ricks, One Take, powered by backers. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. And I'm just trying to figure out how to turn off the record. Hey there, welcome to One Take, powered by backers. Right?
No judging.
Yeah.
No judging.
The millennials are really changing that.
Is charm. No.
All success begins with desire.
I feel like I'm on fire right now.
OMG, baby.